Michigan was very interesting. That dynamic that Weigel had told us about, like, blue states being a little bit more problematic than red states because the threat of an abortion ban was not as prominent. And then I imagine there was a certain amount of like overconfidence. Although it was weird. Hochul did win. She won fairly handily. And if you contemplate how many surrogates were brought into New York, maybe it was ostensibly they're there for Hochul as opposed to the, someone like Sean Patrick Maloney. But, the Swazi seat, maybe I'm not so surprised. But Kathleen Rice won big and she was not there up in New York. And the 19th is one of those swing districts. And I don't know that was a huge surprise, but
what you can trace it back to is Andrew Cuomo's judicial appointments and also deals that he cut with local election officials and kind of entrenching a system that worked for him and was beneficial for the kinds of Democrats that he wanted, aka centrists or even Republicans in Democrat hats. And then it's come back to bite Democrats. I mean,
yep. It's
symbolic that it comes back to both Sean Patrick Maloney and like just the ashen heap left by Andrew Cuomo.
Yes. There's a couple of Democrat congresspeople that I would like to have seen lose if someone's got to lose. Now, I'm not going to lie. Sean Patrick Maloney was on that list. This is a guy who both big-footed Mondaire Jones. I think we've talked about that. People also don't know if they remember that he got into the AG race, I guess maybe 6 or 8 years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, to essentially, as a stalking horse, to deny Zephyr Teachout upstate votes, particularly in the Hudson Valley area where she was strong when she ran against Cuomo. That is exclusively why he ran. And so, I don't want the Democrats to lose the House. And I don't know that it would come down to one seat. It's conceivable that it could, but I don't think so. But I will say, Sean Patrick Maloney, bye-bye.
Yeah, if the Democrats were to lose the House, which it was likely that they were, I'm happy that he did not win.
Yes. So here is one of the things that was enjoyable, and we'll watch a little bit more of Fox News as we go forward. One of the things that was enjoyable was watching some of the Republicans get surprised at the, and I don't know how much they believed it, although according to the reporting, it really seems like they were shocked. And
the pundit class, I think, like the Daily Wire folks, they seem to believe it.
Yep. Here is Lindsey Graham on NBC News last night.
Election denier from that wing of the party. How are you reading these tea leaves?
If you run that far behind your governor candidate, you probably made a mistake. So, General Bolduc served his country well, but, Sununu won big. Bolduc, wouldn't talk about what we should have done, I guess, but definitely not a Republican wave. That's for darn sure. I was in charge of Guam, so I want to take credit for that.
Congratulations.
We won Guam, which I thought was big. Yeah, 1993 is the last time we were in Guam. I think, I think we're going to be at 51, 52 when it's all said and done in the Senate.
Well, let's talk about the...
Yeah, your face really illustrates how confident you are on that.
Congrats on Guam, bro. I hope they see this.
Let's not forget the last prediction he made. Let's just go back a little bit there. How many do you say that the Republicans were going to have in the Senate?
51 or 52.
Yeah. Now, unlikely. It's conceivable, I guess, 51, but we're waiting on right now. We're waiting on Arizona, Maricopa County. We're waiting on Nevada, and we're waiting on Georgia. Like one of the things we said last night, if Georgia goes to a runoff, which seems pretty likely now.
Most prognosticators are basically like all signs point to it. It's non-zero for Warnock to get 50, but it's most likely going to be a runoff.
And in the event that Warnock goes into a runoff, if I had to place a bet on there, I would bet on Warnock. You had Stacey Abrams underperforming Warnock significantly. And whenever you have two candidates running, at least a certain percentage of people are voting against the candidate. And I think there was a lot of people who went out to vote against Stacey Abrams. Not tons, but some, enough that they may not be as motivated to vote in a runoff. And I think that's going to help Warnock.
It's
frankly.
interesting, though, to consider how voter fatigue might be playing into this with Georgia, because this is the second election cycle in a row where they've headed to a runoff for one of the, last time it was both Senate candidates. And who does that favor? I'm not exactly sure.
I think one of the things that will determine who it favors is what happens in those other two races. If it is for a 51st senator for Democrats, or conceivably a 52nd, right? No, not at this point.
It can't be.
If it's for a 51st, then I think it's going to depress Republican turnout on some level, right? Because the Democrats already have control of the Senate.
It's just incredible how much money is going to go back into Georgia. I think they spent a combined something like $250 million in this race in particular, and now there's going to be tens of millions more spent.
Good time to own a local
television show, right?
On that money front, Ed Bermila, who was recently on the show, in 2020, Amy McGrath burned $94 million and got 38.2% of the vote in the Kentucky Senate race. In 2022, Charles Booker spent $6 million and got 38.4% of the vote, so 0.2% more.
Kind of wish all that money that went to Marcus Flowers, Marjorie Taylor Greene's Democratic opponent in her race, went elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
could have been better distributed.
Lauren Boebert could be...
that might have been money well spent, depending on what happens.
That would be fun.
Let's see. Congressional baseball fan, 99% reporting in Arizona right now. The only county at less than 100% is Pima, which is Tucson. Tucson tends to trend Democratic. I expect Mark Kelly and Katie Hobbs wins to hold.
That's great.
That is great, too.
And we should be hearing more from Nevada. The big outstanding ballots are from Clark and Washoe counties. That might even be almost tomorrow, too, just because it's a lot of mail-in ballots and provisionals and affidavits. So
I mean, it seems like Kelly's going to pull it off, barring any something unforeseen in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very close in Nevada with Cortez Masto. And then if she loses... And hopefully it seems like the indicators are that she's a bit ahead in terms of the outstanding votes. But if she does lose, then we're talking, once again, coming down to a Georgia runoff for control of the Senate. It's going to break every record for spending, and it's going to be incredibly important. I mean,
no doubt about it.
For judicial appointments for the future of this country, we've seen, just in this Trump case, what can happen when you stack the judiciary with judges that are favorable to you. And if the Democrats lose the Senate, that's going to be that will be very consequential.
Yep. We will get into all of this and more with Adam Green. But there's a lot of implications. One of the things that the exit polling that struck me, exit polling showed that the two top issues were inflation and abortion. Now, I think there's a lot of reason to believe that Jerome Powell will drive this economy into a recession. But we have had great job numbers still. Last month, the job numbers were great. In 2 years, one of those two issues is still going to be around. And I don't think it's going to be inflation. And so it's going to be interesting going to 2024. I mean, we'll have more time to talk about this, but with a 2 or 3 vote margin in the House, it's going to be a crap show.